Good morning and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. Today I'm going to address part 2 of the should I buy a used car in the Philippines. I'll be talking a little bit about the conversation that I had with the used car dealership downtown, and I will talk about some of the pros and cons about buying a used car over here. So without further delay, let's get today's video underway. So anyway, Saturday on February 11th, this is the big fiesta of this area right here in this barangay Anilao. The barangay is basically broken down into different products and like little communities inside the barangay, and they're having their big fiesta here on Saturday, and I plan on attending, and it should make for a really great video, so stay tuned for that one on Saturday. So as you know, the fiesta in the Philippines is a really big deal. If you had an opportunity to watch the Lipa City fiesta that I posted back in January, you'll see they go way out of their way for that, and that was a big city type of a fiesta they had there. Now the ones that I'll be going to on Saturday, or the one that I'll be going to on Saturday, is actually more of a local community event, and that's a little bit different because everybody in town will have their doors open for you to stop by and eat and join in the festivities, and it's a little bit more personal. So definitely join me with that video that I do on Saturday. Morning. Morning. So here are 3 model homes that are being built in the community that I'm actually going to be building in, and these are new model homes that a developer is going to come in and sell as a package with some of the property. They didn't have this before, and this is something new. So I'll be monitoring the progress of these guys having these built as I'm coming in on a daily basis as well. So anyway, let me start today's episode with apologizing for my throat. I've been here a couple of months, and I'm usually pretty good about not catching anything, but I think I caught some kind of crud inside my lungs over here. So if I'm talking a little bit differently or hoarsely, it's because I get a little bit of a sore throat and a little bit of something inside my lungs. Hopefully it'll get knocked out in the next couple of days with a good exercise, some vitamin C, and drinking a lot of water. Well, anyway, let me start by saying that thank you for the folks who have posted some questions on the topic of getting a used car in the Philippines. I had one by Beach Boy, who asked the question, what made me think that I need a car in the Philippines? Well, when I first got over here, I actually had a rental car. I had it for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I used it to get back and forth. I was able to get up to Makati to assist me with doing things like with the SRV processing for my visa, and some shopping and things like that, and I found it really convenient. So it was really good having that. So I've also been doing public transportation while I've been over here, taking things like the buses for the long-term travel from Batangas up to Manila. doing the jeepneys and doing the tricycles. So I've done, even when I was up in Makati, after taking the bus, I was doing like taxis and Uber and things like that. So although it's actually cheaper to do a bunch of the public transportation, the convenience factor of having your own car is a real big plus over here. Plus, since I'm doing the retirement over here, it's more practical to actually own your own car in this country. I'm actually looking for a truck because, as many of you already know, we're actually, not only are we retiring over here, we're also building a home over here, and that's the main focus of the My PI Dream channel. Is once the building process actually gets started, I want folks to get a good handle on, if you actually decide to build over here, the process that the contractors actually use up here, the process for actually securing your permits and everything that you need to actually build in the Philippines. And as far as the building goes right now, I'm in the permit phase, and I will expand upon that in the upcoming videos about where we are in the permit application fee. And once we start get building, you'll be able to see the actual construction from day one, from breaking ground all the way up to completion of the house over here. There was also another viewer, X2 for Matcha. Pardon me if I butchered that, but he asked the question, or made a comment. He made a comment about when you're looking for a used car over here, one of the options that you can use is olx.ph. It's actually, I looked at the site, it's actually a great resource for looking for used cars over here. It's more of a Craigslist of the Philippines for a little bit of everything, consumer products, motorcycles, household goods, and automobiles. So thank you very much for that input, and I will expand upon that too. So anyway, I went down yesterday and I spoke with the used car dealer. I was actually walking down the main street between SM Mall and Robinson's the other day, and the main focus that day was actually for me to source out some building material companies that I can actually look for different types of building supplies. Well, while I was going down the street, I actually passed by one of the used car dealerships, and I thought, well, this is a good opportunity for me to go inside, since I'm in the market for a used car anyway, and let me talk with one of the sales agents inside there. So I did. So I went inside and I spoke with one of the agents. The owner wasn't there, but he has, like in a car dealership, he has people that represent him, and he has several of the agents inside. There's some young men, and I was actually looking for a truck. I'm looking for a used Toyota Hilux. I'm really fond of Toyotas. They make very good, reliable vehicles, and I've seen them around the world in some of the harshest environments. So in the Philippines, the option that you have if you're deciding to go with Toyota is they have the Toyota Hilux. In the U.S., they have two models over there. They have the Toyota Tundra, and they have the Toyota Tacoma. Over in the Philippines here, they have one that's kind of in between both of those, or it's probably more comparable to the Tacoma. So anyway, I went inside and I spoke with one of the agents inside, and I said, do you have any Toyota Hiluxes that you have on your used car lot? And he said he did not have any Toyota Hiluxes, and I asked him if he could source them around. He says, well, he doesn't know of any right at that point. Although I was looking for the Hilux, and I was about to leave, and a Toyota Fortuner caught my eye. And the Fortuner over here is sort of like the equivalent of the 4Runner or the Highlander that's available in the U.S. It's a very popular car for the SUV market over here in the Philippines. So I looked at it, and it kind of caught my eye, and I spoke with one of the salesmen inside there, one of the representatives, and he said that the price on the Fortuner was a certain price, and it was he told me the model year of it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So, but the price on that, and it was a model 2015. The price of the 2015 wasn't very different from a brand new 2016. It was a little bit discounted, but not quite so much. I asked him if he could call up the owner of the dealership and to find out what would be the best offer on the price, because I'm thinking normally when you go to most places, especially in the U.S., there's a haggling price that you have with the used car dealer. Well, the way it works over here, it's not so much of a haggling. You can do a little bit of a haggling, but when they have a price over there, you're going to find that most of the late model year vehicles that they have over here are actually very close to the new car price over here. There's really not that much of a difference in the pricing. So we called up, and when he came back with the pricing, he came down, I think it was something like 10 or 20,000 pesos, which I didn't think was a very big change in the price from the original asking price. So I said, let me speak with my wife about it, and I left, and I talked with my wife about it, and at the advice of my wife, she said, well, if I'm going to buy a used car, and she gave me a set price of what I should look at for a used car, and it was pretty far off from the asking price of the Fortuner. Actually, the way things work, I will tell you right now, the way things work is if you have family members or if you have friends or classmates or something like that of associates that work with different types of organizations, doesn't matter where it is, whether it's an electric company, at the LTO for driver's license, for if you're trying to apply for internet service or anything like that, one of the things that you will learn when you come over here, it's who you know, and if you're going to get something done in a quick fashion manner, or if it's going to take forever, or if you're going to get discounts or anything like that. So anyway, my sister-in-law, she contacted somebody, a classmate who is a friend of the owner of this dealership. So he agreed to meet me the very next day. So we went back the very next day and we spoke with him also. So that there wasn't an advantage to going back and speaking with him the next day and knowing someone. There was definitely a distinct advantage, but the price really didn't come down that much. So my wife gave me a maximum amount that I was allowed to spend on a vehicle. We were never able to get down to that amount, because it does, even when you know someone over here, the pricing that you get for discounts and stuff, that is, it's very minimal. It's not like, for example, in the U.S., when you buy a car, whether it be a used car or a new car, but specifically on new cars, you will get all kinds of discounts. You get end of month, they're trying to do their quota discount. You get factory model closeout type of discount. You get dealer incentive discounts. You get manufacturer incentive discounts. And these are on new vehicles. And on used cars, there's some latitude and wiggle room there as well. Over here, the discounting system here is very minimal. And it doesn't matter whether it's on a new car or it's on a used car. The discounting here, and it's kind of the way they do things over here. So I've come to accept that. So anyway, so we couldn't come to an agreement on the price discount on the Fortuner. So I was about to leave, and I noticed there was another Fortuner that was sitting right there in front of his dealership that wasn't there the day before. It was right in front of the main door. And I turned around and I asked him, I said, is that your vehicle? Because it was very nice. It was very clean and very nice looking Fortuner. And the owner said, oh yeah, that's my vehicle. And he said, and that's also for sale. I said, oh really? So I asked him what the year was, and the year was a 2012, which was 3 years older than the one that he had on his lot, which makes it a 5-year-old vehicle. And I asked him, how many kilometers did you have on it? And he said, oh, I have 70,000 kilometers on it, which was the same amount that was on the 1-year-old vehicle. And I asked him what the asking price was on it. And the asking price on that one was actually it was actually 100,000 pesos more than the one-year-old vehicle that he had on his lot. And I'm asking, well, why so much? And he said, well, this is a V model, and the V model over here on the Fortuner is actually, it's the upgraded version. It's like leather interior and has like all the bells and whistles that you could possibly get. The big difference on the V model is it had a 3-liter, whereas the one that was on the lot, the 2015, it was a smaller. It was like a 2.4 or 2.8 liter, something like that. So by his vehicle being the 3-liter and the V model with all the bells and whistles and perks and all like that, he felt that the 5-year-old model should be sold at the same price as the 1-year-old model. I didn't think so myself. So we negotiated a little bit longer, and he actually brought down the price a little bit, and which still was quite expensive on that model. So I told him I would speak with my wife about it, and I did. I spoke with my wife that evening, and she presented something to me that was kind of surprising, but kind of nice. She said, well, why don't you consider a new model instead of a used model? And some of the folks over here told me the same thing. So the actual, some of the people that I know that are actually living over here. And one of the big advantages of buying a new vehicle over a used vehicle over here is you actually get a 3-year warranty on the vehicle. So when you buy a used vehicle over here, case in point, the one I was looking at yesterday that was only 1 year old, that one of the first things I asked when I was in there was, can I see the service records on it? Because normally something that's 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, you would normally get your warranty servicing done at your local dealership. And he brought open the book. He brought the book that has inside, you know, the manual, and in the back it's got where you stamp each one of the service records inside every time you get serviced. And there was nothing stamped inside. So I was like, I don't really know the status of this vehicle. So he ended up calling up the owner of the vehicle, which, by the way, this is something I wanted to bring up as well. When you go to a used car dealership, say in the United States, all the vehicles on the lot actually belong to the dealership most of the time. When you go to a used dealership over here, it's almost similar to a consignment sort of situation. So what they will do, which is what the owner of the car dealership did yesterday, he gets on the telephone and he calls the actual owner of the vehicle, because he's actually the agent. The car dealer himself is the agent for the owner, which is similar to consignment. So he called up the owner, and the owner said, this is my bottom line on here. So actually I was dealing through an agent who contacts the actual owner, which basically you have a middleman, which a lot of times causes the price to go up, because of course the middleman, you're going to have to pay the middleman. And something that X2 Marca, who wrote in on his, he made the mention, why don't you go to the OLX website, is you're actually, when you go through there, you're actually dealing with the owners themselves, so you're kind of cutting out the middleman. And I was also told at the same time by one of my friends here, who is a Philippine American, that the best way to actually buy a used car is going through the owner themselves. The only thing that you have to be careful, well, not the only thing, a couple of things you have to be careful, very cautious about when buying through the owner of the car, a used car, without going through a dealer, is you have to be careful. You don't know what the previous status of the vehicle is. That's something you should always, and that's why you should always ask for the service records. And you don't know if there's been an accident. You can ask if there's been an accident, but you don't know the integrity of the vehicle. It could have been in an accident. It could have been repaired, and they do repair so well, you might not know that there was actually a repair. You could possibly bring it to a dealership and have them do an inspection on it. I would recommend that. And then, but sometimes they might not catch everything that happened to that vehicle. Secondly, and probably more important, the possibility of you buying a used car and finding out later on that that used car actually has some kind of lien on it or something that you don't have a valid title. You have to be cautious about stuff like that. Even when you go to the LTO and you bring it down there and they do a transfer of the registration, I've read and heard that there have been some horror stories that somebody's bought a car and then they later find out that the car actually belongs to someone else, or there's actually some liens that are actually on the vehicle, and then that becomes a ugly situation that you don't want to get involved in. And the same thing happens with property over here. If you buy property from someone that it's previously owned and not going through like a realtor or a developer, you can fall into the same situation. So anyway, I ended up looking at his car, and I gave him a call back, and he gave me basically a bottom dollar value on there. But the 5-year-old vehicle was about the same price as the 1-year-old vehicle, which was about the same price as actually going down and paying not so much more for buying a new vehicle. So the option that my wife gave me to looking at new vehicles became a reality. There's a third option that I really didn't speak about, and it was recommended to me by one of the folks. I was staying at a Airbnb while I was here, and they made a recommendation, well, why don't you look at the repossessed vehicles at some of the banks? And there are a lot of vehicles over here that have been repossessed and they have on the bank. So you can actually go to websites. You can go directly to the websites of the banks, and they'll have the vehicles listed there. And there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of very late model vehicles that are there as well. And you can go to I recommend the major banks like BDO, BPI, Metro Bank, PNB, Maybank, Union Bank, and PS. If you go to any of those, or you do a Google search on those, and just put the name of the bank and put repossessed cars or the name of the bank and autos, you'll be able to go to those. And they do a great job. They'll have like a PDF file on there with the listing of all the vehicles that they have, the locations that they have them in. They'll have the prices, and they'll have how many kilometers that they got on it, and several of them will have a lot of pictures that are on there. And you can actually look at the vehicle, and then you can go up. They will usually have, not at the bank, but they will have a facility set up where you can actually go and you can take a look at the vehicles. I actually did that when I first got here, and my friend over at the Airbnb made the recommendation, and I will let you know in advance that it is very similar to the experience that you will find dealing with a used car dealership, that the prices on the used cars, especially the late model cars, the 2014, 2015, and the 2016s, what you'll find is that the prices that they are asking for those are going to be very close to a new car price. So you have the option. I mean, if you want to save, 100, 200,000 pesos, 300,000 pesos on a used car as opposed to a new car, you can do that, and you can deal directly with the banks. And I think that's probably safer than dealing with some of the other agencies where they have an agent, and you avoid some of the problems I spoke about earlier. So anyway, there's the information about different ways of searching for used cars over here, the experience that you can expect when you go to the used car dealerships. So hopefully the tips and my experience has been helpful, and if it has been, do a like and share. And if you are not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll have some helpful tips in the future coming along that you might be able to take advantage of. So that's it for today on My PI Dream. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.